Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel, and we have the AEW review for Thursday, the 27th of August 2020. Overall, a very good show in parts and schizophrenic show in other parts, so kind of a mixed bag. And I know I do the AEW versus NXT comparison. NXT was the more coherent show this week, although there was a lot of good stuff on the AEW show, but certainly not as good as Saturday's show. Lots of things, a week out now from the pay-per-view. I mean, the pay-per-view's a week from Saturday, so less than 10 days from the pay-per-view. I don't think they had the best showing they could have had as a company here, but others may disagree. Anyway, we open with the tag team promised gauntlet. Good news is Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Chris Jericho, all professionals in the broadcast team. Still no Excalibur. Hopefully it stays that way, but that's a matter of personal preference. Anyway, so the short version of the long story is FTR is your number one contenders for the tag team championships. We start the gauntlet with the Young Bucks and the Natural Nightmares, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes against the Young Bucks. I mean, decent little match here. I wish they were doing something different with Dustin Rhodes. Dustin hits a destroyer, which was fine. His power slams always look good. QT tries the diamond cutter, doesn't get it. The Bucks cut him off. Marshall tries to cut her again. Shoves into a high kick from Nick. Bucks hit double super kicks on the BTE trigger for the win. Then we have the Best Friends defeating the Young Bucks in an upset. Hangman Page turns on the Bucks for reasons that aren't yet clear, and we don't know where Kenny Omega stands in that. Decent little match for what it was. I'm not a Bucks fan, but the Bucks can rise to the occasion to give a crazy spot type match when needed. Both teams hit many of their signature moves. Trent takes a German suplex on the apron that looks pretty nasty, and Best Friends hit the half and half suplex combo. Chuck sells his knee after kicks from Nick. Nick hits a springboard facebuster on Chuck. Yeah, sure. Chuck the Truck. Yeah, that's it. Trent hits Nick with a spear on the floor. Best Friends go after Nick. And then we see Matt get a hot tag. Hits the rolling Northern Lights suplex on Trent. Nick tags back in. Hits some strikes. Nick hits a 450 splash on Trent, and Matt covers for a 2 count. Bucks go for the Meltzer driver. Hangman Page comes out, and he grabs the ankle of Nick, holding him in place, and then Trent hooks a cradle, pinning Matt. And we are left to wonder why Page would do this to his former Being the Elite friends. FTR with Tully Blanchard defeat the Best Friends. FTR jump the Best Friends before the bell, as a good heel team will do. Chuck gets a couple of near falls on Dax, and Crash hits a suplex on Trent on the floor. They basically dominate and cut him off. Chuck sells the damage from his knee from earlier in the gauntlet. Dax uses an inverted figure 4 knee bar into an ankle lock, and Chuck taps out. Darby Allin is wearing a Ricky Starks mask, and he jumps off a suspension bridge into water. Allen and Lance Archer are announced for the 21-man Casino Battle Royal for All Out pay-per-view. The winner of the Battle Royal gets a future championship shot. Archer is hyped as a guy who probably is going to get the shot, which was cool. Lance Archer with Jake Roberts defeats Sean Maluta, and they acknowledge Maluta as Afa's nephew. That gives him some credibility at least. Archer wins yet another squash with a pounce suplex, choke slam, and the EBD claw. Roberts cuts a promo after the commercial break. He says they only have one blemish on their record, and it's held them back and cost them a lot. He says that Archer had better win the Battle Royal. Taz, Ricky Starks, and Brian Cage come out to the ring and confronted Roberts and Archer. Roberts calls Team Taz Flintstones. That's a reference back to Taz wrestling like a Flintstone before his ECW run. So we're talking 92 through his heel turn in 95. He did wear kind of a Flintstone-esque singlet. Anyway, Roberts then is overpowering Taz on the promo. I don't know if that's by design. Allen skates in, attacks Starks, knocking Starks out of his shoes. I assume that Allen and Starks are meeting at the pay-per-view somewhere. Cage and Archer faced off to end the segment, so they're kind of teasing a battle between the two of them. Then we see a video package for the women's championship match at the pay-per-view. Thunder Rosa is put over. Billy Corgan did voiceovers to put her over as the NWA championship, and how great it is that the two companies are working together. I couldn't agree more. I would love to see somewhere along the way Nick Aldis as the NWA champion challenge Jon Moxley for the AWA championship, and maybe somewhere a year from now link the two and bring back the NWA title. I don't think necessarily, I mean, you could have the AWA champion, the AEW championship as the TV championship, the NWA championship as the main championship, and you give old school fans a nod. I don't think it hurts anything. I don't think they'll do it. So Thunder Rosa is a big deal. Even Tony Schiavone says that she's a big star and has a lot of talent. JR says Shida was put on Earth to be a pro wrestler. And then they do the Moxley MJF contract signing bit. I'm not a fan of these. But as far as it goes, I guess it was as good as it's going to be. MJF enters with his lawyer, Mark Sterling. I don't know why you wouldn't call him a Sterling Mark. A silver mark would be kind of cool. Anyway, MJF said he's a prodigy to the sport. He said he grew up studying guys like Ernie Ladd and Buddy Rogers, while Moxley studied guys like the Sandman, Onita, and John Zandig. Wow, that's the most Zandig's ever gotten national TV time. Anyway, MJF said maybe Mox's hot wife should call him since he's single. Moxley says he wants to use the paradigm shift. He wants to hurt MJF and cause him permanent neck damage. But banning the move is fine, and it forced him to find a more creative way to hurt him. I honestly think we're going to end up with Moxley versus Archer down the road, which is sad. I would love to see them put the belt on MJF. I understand that a year into the promotion they're not ready to do it, but I get it. Moxley signed the contract. Moxley added a stipulation that next week he gets to wrestle the lawyer. There's a hype video for Santana and Ortiz, and they recap the best friends deal. And then we have a useless throwaway match that they could have just taken out and put into another segment. I hate when AEW does this because it reeks of, we have friends, we put our friends on TV, and sometimes it doesn't matter why we do it. Anyway, so Butcher Blade, Pentagon Jr., and Rey Fenix with Eddie Kingston defeat Joey Janela, Sonny Kiss, Brian Pillman, and Griff Garrison. So you've got two guys who you're pushing, kinda, and then you've got Pillman Jr., who they're wasting, and Griff Garrison, who less than 3 months ago was just an enhancement talent. This is such a waste of talent. They're wasting Pillman Jr. I don't care what anybody says. That guy should be in a program doing something useful, just based on his father's name and his own talent. Like, I would feel that way even if he wasn't Brian Pillman's kid. But the fact that he is, and you're wasting him, is just stupid. Anyway, Kingston's crew are basically dominant through the whole match here. And Pentagon and Phoenix hit some dives. They're fine for what they are. I'm not into lucha, so I can't really get super excited, but I get it. I get that lots of people are into lucha. Janela gets hit with the package pile driver on the apron, which I don't care how many times I see it, is a dumb spot. Pillman lands on his head off a lariat. Phoenix hits a springboard double stomp and pins Pillman. Why didn't he pin Garrison? Actually, why didn't he pin Janela or Garrison? Either one. Anyway, Kingston says they're not a stable, but they will all be in the Battle Royal, and one of them will win. The Brody Lee celebration of winning the TNT Championship. This reeks of being a WWE segment and wasn't necessary. Dark Order comes out. They're carrying a casket. They held a funeral for Cody Rhodes and the Nightmare family. Brody Lee enters. They basically make a big deal over the win, and he says the open challenge is over. TV time for independent talent is done, and he ended Cody's career, and he's proud of it. Natural Nightmares run out to attack the Dark Order. Dark Order beats them down. Scorpio Sky runs in. He gets beat down. Matt Cardona runs to the ring, and he cleans house. So, let me get this right. You get a guy like Scorpio Sky, who has been really good for the brand. Then you have a guy like Matt Cardona, who happens to be a friend of Cody, who no doubt Cody's going to turn on upon his injury return, who was a WWE C-list guy for 10 years, and he can clean house against like 7 people. This is so bad. Anyway, so Dasha Gonzalez catches up with Hangman Page. The Bucks confront the Hangman for costing them the match. Matt said the Bucks used to be his friend, wanted to be his friend. They admit to calling Hangman a jobber a long time ago, but they didn't mean it. And Page didn't react to anything. Page is kicked out of the Elite, and Page stared into a broken mirror. And, it just is what it is. So Big Swole defeats Britt Baker, Penelope Ford, and Reba with Kip Sabian in a handicap match. This was probably the worst segment in AEW history, just because, I care about seeing Baker. I don't care about seeing the rest of them. Big Swole's fine, but she's not, anything to write home about. Anyway, so Baker cuts a promo pre-match, and, this just didn't work. Baker said if Swole wins, she gets any type of match she wants at any time. I think she meant at the pay-per-view. Baker stayed on the stage in her wheelchair and never tags in. Ford picked Swole up and almost dropped her on her head. Reba and Ford worked over Swole, and I think Reba was trying to look bad intentionally. I guess that's the plan here, because if not, she needs to go back to wrestling school. It just looks not good. Baker threw Reba a crutch. Ref takes the crutch away. Sabin took the ref. Baker threw another crutch into Reba. Reba hit Ford instead. Swole pins Ford. It's this is just horrible. Let's see. Moxley versus MJF's lawyer, Santana Ortiz versus Best Friends, Jericho versus Joey Janela, Private Party and SCU versus Young Bucks and Jurassic Express. And the 8-man where the winners face each other at All Out is announced all for next week. The attempt to recruit Taylor Conti is done here by the Dark Order. This makes no sense. Natural Nightmares, Matt Cardona and Scorpio Sky versus Brody Lee, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, and Colt Cabana was announced for All Out. Sammy Guevara enters for the main event, and we have a tables match with less than 10 minutes to go in the television program. I'm not sure why Matt Hardy is in the main segment at this point. I don't know who you'd put there, but this doesn't seem there. So both men are bleeding during the commercial break. Let's get this right. So they start fighting and they bleed during a commercial. Hardy misses an elbow off the apron and goes through a table. And I guess you have to be put through a table by someone by an offensive move, because otherwise the match would have ended, but they didn't really express this well. Hardy sets Guevara up on the table, teases the top rope leg drop. Guevara cuts him off with a superplex through the table for the win. 7-minute TV match that accomplishes nothing. Jericho and Orange Cassidy close the show brawling, and we close the show. Again, up till the women's match, things were fine. But that women's match in the end of the show, I'd say the last half hour of the show was completely worthless and probably one of the worst things AEW's done in a while. Anyway, that's our AEW review. We will start the 1983 foray into World Class momentarily.